Their defense is a joke.
What it really comes down to is I would love to have either of them.
They don't have a prayer in their secondary. They have nothing.
So you're saying just don't draft Blunt?
I'm saying don't draft Blunt.
He was unbelievably efficient last year.
You know that they use their running backs in the passing game a ton.
I'm drafting him tonight.
That's Team Huevos. Huevos gigantes. Hey everyone, welcome into the FantasyPros Football Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Sylvester, joined as always by Mike Tagliere and Kyle Yates. What's going on, buddies?
Oh, it's a good day to be back. We're coming off like one of the best shows of all time, so I don't know how we're going to follow that up, but I can tell you that I'm feeling a bit dangerous today. I just got done listening to Danger Zone right before we started recording. It just came up on my Spotify, and I was like, yes, I'm feeling that. So you're going to notice in my team name for today, it's The Punisher. So good luck, guys.
I just got done watching Paw Patrol, so I'm feeling good too. What about you, Yates?
Well, I just got done watching a Disney movie, so I think Tags might have a little bit more of an edge. But no, it's good to have the three of us back together. We punted Dan off the ship, and now it's just us three again. So it's good. I'm excited for this.
Well, Yates, you're coming off like the greatest spelling bee victory of all time, too.
I'm telling you.
Who knew that you were so good at spelling, man?
I'm telling you, if you guys are people listening and you have not listened to our 500th episode yet, pause this, go back and listen to it. It was so funny. You will not regret it.
And by the way, you'll be able to see it on YouTube, too. We've got a YouTube channel, youtube.com/FantasyPros. We don't just do videos with the podcast. We do all kinds of videos every single week. We're going to be having live streams coming up, too, when fantasy football really gets into gear. I do fantasy baseball as well. We do some March Madness stuff, all kinds of stuff along those lines. It's on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/FantasyPros. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future podcasts. So, guys, here's the plan today, okay? We're going to be doing a mock draft for the 2020 redraft season. It's a 12-team, full PPR league, standard roster setting, so just one quarterback. We're not doing a kicker. Get that out of here. And we're going to do a random draft position. So, Tags, we're doing it using the multi-user draft platform. You can just go to Fantasy Pros, hover over NFL, and you'll see mock draft lobby. That's our multi-user draft platform. Tags, can you explain how it works?
Yeah, so the multi-user drafts basically go in. What they do is they take actual people, because some people, they're like, I love the draft wizard. I can get mock drafts done in 5 minutes. But sometimes you want to draft against other humans. You can invite your friends into it. You could do exactly what we're doing right here. You can go through and see who gets the best score. It's like a competition between you and your friends. And if you don't fill the entire lobby, we're going to fill it with AI. So therefore, it's kind of like the draft wizard, but with actual users filled in between. So it's a lot of fun. All you guys have to do is head over to the draft wizard's mock draft lobby at fantasypros.com/draft wizard. This season will be starting. It will not be starting for a couple more months, but it's still not early to get in practice drafts. Again, check it out. fantasypros.com/draft wizard.
All right, guys, I click start draft. We'll see what positions we have here in just a moment. Which one of you dorks is going to finish in second place?
That would be you.
Well, no, I got the number 1 overall pick, so that's not going to be me.
Oh, this is the second time that he's done that. I'm not kidding. The last time.
What's up, suckers?
Wait, Yates was in that draft. Yates, weren't you in there where he got McCaffrey in the dynasty draft?
Yeah, he got McCaffrey.
Wow.
Yeah,
well,
he got
I don't
McCaffrey.
know what to tell you guys. Do better. No excuses.
This is trash.
This is
Anyways,
interesting though.
Playmakers make plays.
We're all right together right here.
This is weird. This is a first. We have Bobby's got the first pick. I have the third pick, and then Yates has the fourth pick. So we're going to be sniping each other left and right. We can't talk about our future picks because we know that basically the person's going to have a chance to take them right afterwards.
Well, you guys might have a chance to take Christian McCaffrey because I am going to search in the search bar here for Mike Boone.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm taking Christian McCaffrey.
If you did that, it's like an automatic lose. Like you lost.
Of course, man. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey's worth like 10,000 points. If I don't win this, I should be embarrassed.
I would agree with you on that.
But I'm going to. I mean, what's my record in these mock drafts against you, Tags? Like, probably about 20-3?
No. It's not even close to that. It's
Who's
probably
the Punisher?
50-50,
Is that you, Tags?
Yeah, that's me. All right, so I am on the clock, and Michael Thomas is the expert recommended pick, but I'm not going that route because it's just too far. Like, if you take Michael Thomas at number 3, I understand it's a PPR and wide receivers are worth a little bit more, but if you take someone like Michael Thomas there at number 3, you're hoping one of those running backs falls back to you at the end of the second round, and I can't rely on that happening. So it really comes down to me for Ezekiel Elliott or Alvin Kamara. I like Kamara an awful lot, and I'm just gonna go and pull up my projections real quick so I can see what's going on here, because I'm torn between these two, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna have that decision. I feel like Zeke is the safer choice, someone that you can kind of get the points from. But there's a lot more competition for targets in that offense now. Blake Jarwin is actually probably going to be a better receiving option than Jason Witten was. They have CeeDee Lamb there. I'm really leaning towards Alvin Kamara here. I feel like Zeke is the safe play, but instead of doing that, I am going to go with Alvin Kamara, because in my heart, I think even in a PPR, I would debate Kamara over Saquon Barkley, to be fair. And I'm saying that because Barkley, I think you can acquire him after 3 weeks of the season for cheaper than he was drafted for. Granted, you're going to have to pay because he's still, going to be considered highly valuable. But he has like one of the toughest schedules to start the season. Alvin Kamara he's going to come back to his norm. He had a down year in terms of touchdowns, but I think people are going to I think they've forgotten just how good Alvin Kamara is.
I would have taken Kamara too, but I guarantee Yates is over there licking his chops. He's going to get Michael Thomas and Kenyon Drake.
He's not getting Drake.
No. No, I was actually, Tags started talking about he was going to take Kamara, and my soul died a little bit. I actually wanted Kamara there. Just because I've talked about it on previous pods. He went from 18 touchdowns in 2018 and went to 5, total in 2019. That's got to come back to the mean. So yeah, I'm
expecting. That's 81 receptions every year. This is
right,
a PPR
81, 81, all 3 years. So, yeah, Kamara is a good option there. I'm going to draft Zeke here, though, just because of his upside. And, yes, he could see some more competition for targets. He could see a little bit less in the passing game. But yet here, I know that he's an extremely safe pick. Like, there's a very, very little chance that Zeke is going to bust. Whereas we've seen Kamara, he saw 5 touchdowns last year. Like, we've seen it happen. So I'm not projecting that. I expect him to bounce back. But yet Zeke is an extremely safe pick.
Yeah.
All right, Thomas comes off the board at 5. Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry. You guys can check it out on the YouTube channel if you want to follow along on the whole draft board. Kenyon Drake is off the draft board at number 14 in the draft. A couple wide receivers came off. You've got some good options, though, Yates, for your second round. Who are you going with?
Yeah, there are some really good players here still on the board. We saw a run of running backs go. If you look at that, Kenyon Drake at the 202, Tyreek Hill went at 203, and then Eckler, Mixon, Jones, Edwards-Helaire, Melvin Gordon, too, at the 208. So
that's crazy high.
2 teams have 2 wide receivers, by the way, if you're looking at the draft board.
Yeah. So, this has left my number 3 overall wide receiver still here on the board at the back end of the second round. I'm taking Chris Godwin here, guys. It really isn't much of a discussion here. It's Godwin, yes, you're going to see maybe some drop off, but yet, he's still going to be in the slot. He's still going to be on the outside, and I think people are jumping off based off of Arians' report last week of the 12 personnel, which is 1 running back, 2 tight ends on the field, is going to be their base personnel, and people are all freaking out about, what does this mean for Chris Godwin? Guys, Godwin played on the outside his first year, and he was really, really good. So he's still going to come into the slot on those third downs when they do run 11 personnel. Godwin is going to be extremely safe this year. So at the back end of the second round, that's a no-brainer pick.
It's really odd to think about Brady not running with a slot receiver. I don't know if I believe that whole 12 personnel thing. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen to some extent, but I don't think they're going to be running it as much as some people have almost exaggerated it. So I'm with you on that one. I like Godwin. I was hoping that you would pass on him for me to take him, but you made my decision kind of that much easier. I rarely do it, but at the end of the second round, Travis Kelce.
No, leave him for me, man.
No, I'm not. So I've been going back and forth on Kittle and Kelce and trying to figure out which one I should put atop my rankings. But looking at Kelce, he's just been too consistent. Like, he's been every single year, and it's like, even if the touchdowns aren't there, the yardage is there, the receptions are going to be there. There's so many different options in this offense that you can't just say, we're going to slow down Travis Kelce. The tight end position is one of the hardest in football to slow down because they're kept in a block, nearly half the time. So Travis Kelce, for me, at the end of the second round, when there's no
don't hit the draft button yet. I want to
wide
try to
receiver
talk you
here,
out of it.
I'm taking Kelce.
Dude, he's oh, come on, man. He's 31 years old. Why would you do that?
Because he's the best tight end in the game.
This is ridiculous. I was going to take Kelce and then Lamar Jackson, and they both got sniped from me.
Wow, you were going to take Lamar Jackson here at the end of the
second.
second.
I was going to take Lamar Jackson at the 2-3 turn, yeah.
I don't fault you for that. I really don't. I actually think Lamar Jackson's worth it there.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to take George Kittle.
I was about to say, you have Kittle sitting right there. I really don't, in a full PPR, I really don't think there's much of a difference, much of a gap between Kelce and Kittle. I still prefer Kelce,
Me
but
too.
yet in a full PPR, they're kind of right there neck and neck. So I'm willing, if I'm in that spot, I'm willing to let someone else take the other player first, and I'll just take the second one.
Can you imagine starting Christian McCaffrey, Travis Kelce, Lamar Jackson? I'd feel so good about my team. Okay, this is difficult because now that we're past that grouping of the elite running backs, it gets really ugly at running back. I mean, let's see what my best options are. Leonard Fournette, Todd Gurley, 14th and 16th running back respectively in ECR. Over at wide receiver, Chris Godwin's the only guy I would have been tempted to take. Now, this is full PPR. Allen Robinson had a ton of targets last year. I don't know if that keeps up. Kenny Golladay just doesn't get enough targets. I like him quite a bit. I'm not going to reach for Odell Beckham quite yet. I would love to have him, but that's a major reach. I got to go running back, and because this is PPR, I'm going to go Leonard Fournette, which is weird because until last year, he didn't really seem like the pass-catching back, but I mean, how many did he have last season? 76 receptions?
Yeah, I saw over 100 targets, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I guess I got to go Leonard Fournette, which is nowhere near as sexy as going Lamar Jackson here at the third.
My only concern with Leonard Fournette this season is they did bring in Chris Thompson. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that Chris Thompson is, is an amazing back by any means, but yet that's a role that they wanted filled, that they felt that Leonard Fournette wouldn't be that guy. They wanted to bring in Thompson. He has familiarity with that coaching staff, so bring him in, and we'll see if he takes away some of that work.
Yeah, this is a really tough spot for me. I'm doing this draft as if I were doing it, right? And Allen Robinson is here. I have Allen Robinson ranked as my number 10 wide receiver. I have Juju Smith-Schuster ranked as my number 7 or 8 wide receiver. So I'm obviously high on Smith-Schuster, much higher than the consensus is, but I'm backing it up. I think people are forgetting they were drafting him as a top 5 wide receiver last year, and I understand he dealt with injuries. I know that Ben Roethlisberger went down. He was transitioning to the perimeter as the primary target. And now, heading into 2020, the Steelers have already said, we're going to move Juju Smith-Schuster back into the slot. We have Deontay Johnson out there to play that Antonio Brown type role. And then we're going to have, James Washington and Chase Claypool kind of going back and forth with that third wide receiver spot. So Juju back in the slot. He's 23 years old, guys. He's a kid, right. And he's only going to get better. I like Juju quite a bit, and I'm just going to back that up with my take here and saying that I would rather take Juju, a guy that's going to be targeted by Ben Roethlisberger, than taking someone like Allen Robinson, who's going to be targeted by either Nick Foles or Mitch Trubisky. So I'm going with my actual draft board here rather than what the experts are recommending, which is going to hurt my grade, but I'm okay with that.
Do you really think that Big Ben is that much better than Nick Foles? Because Big Ben was awful before he missed an entire season.
Nick Foles was...
He was awful.
He was... Nick... Wait, who was awful?
Big Ben.
He's never been awful. Yates, can you be the
He led the league in interceptions, man.
I mean, well, they also threw the ball 690 times or whatever that year.
Ridiculous.
I mean, Big Ben is one of the most underrated throwers of the football, in NFL history. I don't think that he gets enough credit. Now, the conversation can spin to, okay, where is he at this point of his career? That's a valid argument. To say that he sucks I don't think is a valid argument.
He had the same yards per attempt as Marcus Mariota and Eli Manning, Mitch Trubisky
again,
in
when you're
2018,
inflating,
and then he missed a full year.
Well, yeah, when you're inflating the pass attempts, then Marcus Mariota threw 300, 400 times compared to 690. So
sure,
I get what you're saying, Bobby. It's a valid argument at this point, but I do think that Big Ben still is better than Nick Foles. However, I don't think that Nick Foles is outside the top 25 quarterbacks in the NFL. Okay, so speaking of which, though, I am going to sit here and I'm going to take, in a full PPR, I'm going to take my wide receiver 6, guys. That's Allen Robinson. This guy saw how many receptions did he have last year? 98 receptions. I'm projecting around the same this year. And if that's the case, I have him down for 90 receptions. If that's the case, man, he's going to be a monster for me. So I walk out now with Chris Godwin and Allen Robinson to go along with Zeke. That is a solid start to a draft.
I like it. Yeah, I like tag start as well. Kamara, Travis Kelce, Juju. I've got McCaffrey, Kittle, and Leonard Fournette. Now, Yates is back to you after a huge wide receiver run. So you've got some running back options available to you.
I do, but man, look at these wide receivers that are still here on the board. Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods, A.J. Brown. I could even scroll down and there's Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, DeVante Parker. Oh, my word. This is really difficult, but I do want to make sure that I shore up my running back position, and there's not much of a gap between my next pick here at the 409 and the 504, so I'm going to say that I feel strong that I can get at least one of those wide receivers there to come back to me to be my wide receiver 3. And I'm going to take a guy here who I think is in line for a huge workload this season. That's Jonathan Taylor. He's not going to be much of a factor from the passing game. You do have Nyheim Hines still there. But here at the back end of the 4th round, Jonathan Taylor to pair as my RB2, where I think Jonathan Taylor's in line for 230 plus carries. If that's the case, he's got an extremely safe floor. So Taylor here.
He's the last of a good bunch of running backs. After that, it gets a little bit shaky with Mark Ingram, Devin Singletary, David Montgomery. Tags, you taking your second running back
I really
here?
don't like drafting next to Yates. I really don't. Honestly,
You knew he was going to take Jonathan Taylor.
No, I kind of did, and I was hoping.
Or were you hoping he would maybe reach for Calvin Ridley? It's not really a reach.
It's not reaching. That's exactly who I'm going to draft here is Calvin Ridley. I have him as my, I think, wide receiver 14. So getting him as my wide receiver 2 to pair with Juju, I feel good about that. I have Kelsey and Kamara. It does put me in a little bit of a hole at running back, but at this point, I feel like I'm reaching for any of the running backs that are on the board. Jonathan Taylor was the one that was lasting that I was debating. But yeah, I'm going to go with Calvin Ridley here. The experts, by the way, are suggesting Keenan Allen. I don't get that at all. I really don't. And I'm drafting as if
leave him for me, baby. Are you serious? You remember this is full PPR, right?
Well, Keenan Allen just went off the board after.
No, who's team 2? I am so mad at him right now. 102 receptions, 97 receptions, 104 receptions.
It's also,
Keenan Allen is a PPR stud.
It's all I love Keenan Allen, the player. I absolutely love him. However, this is not a team that's going to throw the ball 600 times anymore. They are going to be. I mean, I would guess they're probably going to be around 500. So if you take away 100 pass attempts, that's going to hurt Eckler. It's going to hurt Keenan Allen. It's going to hurt Mike Williams. So it's a domino effect basically from Phillip Rivers leaving this team and going to Tyrod Taylor, who's expected to start week 1. Now they're probably going to go to Justin Herbert at some point, but still, you're not going to have a rookie quarterback dropping back 40 times per game.
Exactly. That's a really important thing to remember is that when they do move, if they do move on to Justin Herbert, it's not like they're going to just change offensive philosophies and now, then they would be up around 550 pass attempts for the year. No, they're going to stay around that range. They're going to keep the ball on the ground.
Yep.
It's kind of weird picking from the 1 spot because there's a lot of guys that I would love to have on my team, but it would just be reaching at this point if I was to go get Raheem Mostert or DJ Chark or Terry McLaurin.
That's why I hate drafting
even
on the
AJ
ends.
Green. They're all going to be gone by the next time I pick, but I'm not reaching for them over Robert Woods and AJ Brown. I mean, I have to take those guys.
Yeah, I think you do. I was really hoping that you would let Robert Woods fall. But
that's exactly who I was hoping would fall.
Yeah. No, sorry, guys. Not doing that.
This
I'm
is
taking
the worst
AJ
draft
Brown
of
as
all
well.
time, by the way. I'm already declaring it the worst draft because I'm getting literally sniped on both ends here. And DK Metcalf comes up.
That's what you get, man. Beat us all in Fantasy Feud, and we are going to bring the wrath. I like your team, though, Tags. It's not bad.
No, it's good. I mean, I like it, but I'm mad. And this is the point in the draft where, as much as I don't want to draft a running back, I kind of have to. It's down between, I'm going to look at my rankings. I'm going to consult my rankings in this one just to make sure that I'm going, because it's Mark Ingram.
Who you're going with, man. You like Zach Moss. J.K. Dobbins is going to eat into Mark Ingram's carries. It's David Montgomery.
That's what I'm debating, David Montgomery or Mark Ingram. And it is actually David Montgomery because Mark Ingram is not only going to lose goal line touches to Lamar Jackson, but he's also going to lose some touches to J.K. Dobbins. And I don't, call me crazy, but I don't think Justice Hill just goes away and they literally make him inactive. I don't think that's going to happen. So it's just an ugly timeshare. Mark Ingram was already a guy that I think he had more than 15 carries once the whole season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So
202 rush attempts in the whole season. He was just inflated by 15 rushing touchdowns. It's not happening again.
Yeah. So David Montgomery, a sturdy low-end RB2. I understand that he's a low-end RB2, but a sturdy one to pair with Alvin Kamara and having the receivers and the tight end that I do. When you get a tight end early, I would have contemplated, I just want to be clear, I would have contemplated taking Dak Prescott around this range. I think that this is where he should be considered in the early 5th round. But when you take I say this every year, but if you take a tight end early, if you take a Kelsey or a Kittle, you cannot go early quarterback because it's going to put you behind the 8 ball at another position. If you want to take an early quarterback, you cannot take an early round tight end. So I'm against going with those guys because it just puts you behind the 8 ball at running back or wide receiver.
Literally 2 seconds before you brought up, hey, I would have taken Dak Prescott. I was thinking, man, I hope Dak Prescott falls back to me.
Oh, he's not falling.
Now I know that you would take him if he was there.
Oh, he's not falling. Yeah, he's not going to fall.
All right, Burley Yates on the clock.
Guys, I typically do not look at tight end this early However, Mark Andrews is still here on the board at the 504, and in my projections, there's a drop off after Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is kind of in this tier on his own, and then you kind of roll the dice there with some guys like Zach Ertz, and I have Hayden Hurst around that same range. So I could definitely wait and try to play that game where I get Hayden Hurst, but I want to see what my team looks like, right? This is the time of the year where we play around with it. We see what it looks like if we take these players in different spots. I'm going to take Mark Andrews here and to pair him with Zeke, Jonathan Taylor, Chris Godwin, and Allen Robinson.
Now, where do you guys stand on Zach Ertz or Mark Andrews?
I have Mark Andrews, and I think that Zach Ertz could get off to a really good start this year with Alshon Jeffrey potentially starting the year on the PUP. So I don't think that a lot of people are completely off of Zach Ertz. I'm not there. I still like him. However, his ceiling is capped. He doesn't have the ceiling that Mark Andrews does.
I think it's Mark Andrews by a ton. I'm not a big fan of Zach Ertz. He was the tight end 5 last year, despite having just an absolute ton of targets. And now they draft all these wide receivers. They've also got Dallas Goedert, who might be as good as Zach Ertz. I'm not going to have any Zach Ertz shares.
All right, so I'm back here on the clock at the 6:09. Some of the wide receivers that are available: Tyler Boyd, who I'm really, really eyeing there. Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Marvin Jones. So it's starting to get a little bit shaky at the wide receiver position. Running back, though, Mark Ingram, Kareem Hunt, Raheem Mostert, DeAndre Swift is still there. Ingram's the tempting one to have as my RB3 because I don't want to just sacrifice or roll the dice and sacrifice depth at the running back position. So I'm really torn here, guys, between Ingram and Tyler Boyd. Tags, who would you be going with here?
I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm drafting right behind
Tags
you.
wants Tyler Boyd so bad, man.
Oh, man. I have Tyler Boyd as a wide receiver 26 in full PPR to pair with Godwin and Robinson. I feel like that's a really good draft.
There's already 36 wide receivers off the board, and Boyd is still there.
Okay, Yates, if you go back and watch on YouTube when this comes out, I was like cursing your name as you said Tyler Boyd. I was like, and then I was like hoping and praying that you were taking Mark Ingram. Well,
Ingram's still there though, man. That's a great pick.
We just talked about
at this
Mark
stage.
Ingram.
You almost took him last round.
No, at this stage, it does make sense to take Mark Ingram because again, there's no wide receiver on the board that I don't feel like I have to have. I do like Tyler Boyd an awful lot. So yes, yes. So I'm just so frustrated with drafting by Yates. I really am. But yeah, I'll take Mark Ingram and deal with it. I'm not happy. I mean, I debated him. Let's be honest. I debated it last round over David Montgomery. So to have him fall another almost full 2 rounds, okay.
I was certain Team 2, which has just been a jerk all draft, taking Lamar Jackson and Keenan Allen. I was certain they were going to take Raheem Mostert out from me, but they didn't. So I get my dude, Raheem Mostert. He's my RB3 behind Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette. We've talked about him quite a bit as to why I like him. I believe you guys both agree with me. So I'll move on to my next pick, which is going to be another running back. I'm grabbing my 4th running back already because it's going to dry up really quick. And Kareem Hunt is going to have a very useful role. Whenever McCaffrey or Fournette or Mostert's on their bye, I'm going to use Hunt every single week because he's going to be reliable in the passing game. This is full PPR. And if anything were to happen to Nick Chubb, Hunt could be a top 5 fantasy football running back, right?
Yeah, that's why I like Hunt, especially in this territory. Like my projections came in lower than I thought on him, but he comes with additional built-in upside, right? Like if you do your projections, Tony Pollard's not going to come in as a top 35, top 40 running back. He's going to be probably outside the top 50, but he comes with that built-in upside where if something happens to Zeke, he goes into that RB1 territory. Someone like, that you're talking about, Kareem Hunt, he's someone that has value. Like he has that flex type value, even if Nick Chubb's in the lineup. But if for whatever reason Nick Chubb were to miss time, Kareem Hunt is a guy that legitimately can win fantasy football leagues. So yeah, that's, I think, the ideal flex type player.
You look at what he did from week 10 to week 17 when he joined this lineup. He outscored Nick Chubb, guys. In PPR?
Well, in PPR, yeah, he did. And the offense is changing, and that's where I'm a little torn on him because it's obviously a new offense with Stefanski. They are going to run a whole lot more 2 tight end sets, I do believe. So are they going to use the running backs? Because the correlation between tight ends and running backs in the passing game have a much higher correlation than wide receivers and tight ends or anything like that. So I do worry about that a little bit for Kareem Hunt, which is why he's right around that RB 28 to 30 range for me. But he has, again, built-in upside, so... all right. So I'm back on the clock, and as Yates mentioned the last time around, wide receivers at this point, I'm not crazy high on a lot of these guys. There is someone I'm debating here, and I'm also debating
Brandon
someone
Cooks.
like Kyler Murray. But as I mentioned earlier, it's really difficult for me to select someone like Kyler Murray because I selected a tight end early on. Now, we're in the 7th round now, so it's not necessarily an early quarterback. Kyler Murray has QB1 upside. I don't think he gets there, but I think that it's possible with him in terms of like you add in his mobility.
Clarify that. The
QB1 overall?
QB1 overall upside.
Yes.
Okay, because QB1 kind of refers to like top 12 QBs.
No, with his mobility and with how many plays per game that the Cardinals want to run, adding DeAndre
Right.
Hopkins, having Kenyon Drake a pass catching back, like there's a lot of reasons to like him. He wasn't as efficient as people think he was last year, which is
No,
why
he
I
was
don't
not.
think he gets to QB1. But I think the upside is there. But either way, I'm going to take a wide receiver here who I think is continually undervalued right now, and it is Brandon Cooks. He's the ideal wide receiver 3 on a fantasy team. You have DeAndre Hopkins gone, obviously, from the Texans. He's not there. That's 150 targets per year that's cleared up. They use the tight ends a lot more than I think they wanted to last year due to injuries. Will Fuller is always hurt. Randall Cobb sucks. Kenny Stills can't play unless he's in the slot. There's so many things here that are just not good. Brandon Cooks, we know. If he's healthy, he's on the field, he's really freaking good at football, no matter who the quarterback has been. So to get him as my wide receiver 3 to pair with Juju and Calvin Ridley, I'm down with that.
Tags, we know each other so well that literally you could have called in sick and we could have just put your draft spot in here and I could have drafted for you. I would have drafted every single player knowing that's who you would have taken so far.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man. It's fun.
It is. I mean, that's just, it goes to show how much we've talked throughout this offseason.
Right. Okay, Yates, who are you going with, man?
Yeah, so I've got a starting roster so far of Zeke, Jonathan Taylor, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Tyler Boyd, and Mark Andrews. I need to get another running back, though, because if I pass on running back at this spot, again, we're at the turn here, so it's going to be a while before my next pick. I might be looking at guys like Darius Geis and Sony Michel, who I do not want any part of. So
I'm going
to take DeAndre Swift here. He's the top rate. The experts are saying to take him. I'm going to agree there. So I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift. I think that he is going to take the lion, pun intended, share of the carries here. So he's someone who I really like. But again, I don't think that this is going to be a prolific offense as far as rushing. Over the past 4 years, guys, the Lions have 9 total rushing touchdowns, 10, 11, and 7. So they're not going to be one of these teams that's competing for a ton of rushing touchdown upside. So he's someone who I think comes with a cap ceiling, but as my RB3, I'm fine with that.
Look at that quarterback run. Wilson, Murray, Allen, Brady, Ryan, all off the board.
Yep. That's usually the area they go, and people start chasing because they get worried. But I'm like, if you miss out on the first 4 or 5 quarterbacks, might as well wait.
All right, back to you, Yates.
Oh, that's right. I'm on the clock. Whoops. Okay, so here at the 809, I did take a tight end early, but like Tags was saying, that you're kind of in these mid rounds now where it's comfortable to look at some of these quarterbacks. And, I'm looking at guys, if I want to wait, I could roll the dice with a Baker Mayfield. I don't want Jared Goff. Ryan Tannehill, I think, is going to be a fine middling option. But I don't know if I want to rely on him week in and week out.
He'll be better in Burrow for sure.
There's a guy here. Carson Wentz is still here on the board, and he's my current QB4, I think. He's around that area. So for me to get him here in the 8th round is someone who I feel really comfortable with.
I like Carson Wentz. I don't think I would have considered him at my pick. So this is like the first time that I'm looking at Yates, and I'm like, I'm right. I'm not mad about that pick. Just because, again, I like Wentz too, but I think I have his QB9, somewhere around there. But so you're high on him. Obviously, I don't fault you for taking him there. Now we're getting to the point. My roster, it looks solid. I have Kamara, Mark Ingram, and David Montgomery at running back. I have Juju, Calvin Ridley, Brandon Cooks at wide receiver, and I have Travis Kelce as my tight end. So my starting lineup is actually filled out. It looks like, Bobby, did you only put one flex spot in here?
Only one flex spot, yeah.
So there's only one flex spot. We have 7 bench spots. And now this basically
Tags,
where you
it's
start.
a perfect time to take a defense.
No, it's not. In fact, I'm going to take the wide receiver that I'm sure he will come off the board shortly, and it's Deontay Johnson. He's a guy that
good.
And I now have him and Juju Smith-Schuster on my roster. I understand how that could be frustrating, but sometimes And people, I get this tweeted at me all the time, so I'm sure there's people listening that wonder about that. Do you aim to get teammates, or do you worry if you draft Julio Jones, can you not draft Calvin Ridley? No, I don't go out of my way to do that stuff, but if it just happens where the cards fall, it kind of works out. And especially now having Deontay Johnson on my bench, where if Juju, for whatever reason, I don't believe it, that he doesn't return back to form, then Deontay Johnson's going to be taking a massive step forward, and therefore he's going to be a very fantasy-relevant receiver. I have Deontay Johnson right now as my wide receiver 36, so I think he's teetering on that wide receiver 3 territory. PPR, maybe not as valuable, maybe better in like a half PPR format, but on my bench, I think it's hard to find a wide receiver with upside as much as he has.
I'm looking back at the draft board right now because I see Tyler Higbee still available. And I kind of wished that I would have taken Kenny Golladay at the 2-3 turn instead of George Kittle, because Higbee lasted this long until the 8-9 turn. That would have been really nice for me. You can't really bet on that, though. I wouldn't mind it Austin Hooper here. And George Kittle is amazing, of course. But the wide receivers, my third wide receiver is not going to be good, guys. I'm trying to decide between Anthony Miller and Mike Williams for my third wide receiver. And I don't feel great about either of them. No, I like Anthony Miller, of course, but I'm going to go Mike Williams. I feel like there's a lot of upside.
I don't.
I also don't.
I mean, this is a guy last year who had 1,000 yards on 90 targets.
Well, his average depth of target was like 30 yards down the field.
Right.
That's true.
And that's because Rivers straight up degaffs it, dude. He is he's a guy that like he's come out and said it in the press conferences. It says like, look, I'm not worried about my stats. I don't care if I throw an interception. Like, you know what I mean? Where you have guys like Brady and Rodgers who they're not going to take chances like that, but Phillip Rivers does. So that's why someone like Michael Pittman is a good target in the later rounds, just because if you have Rivers throwing you the ball, he's willing to throw it up in those one-on-one situations.
So this is frustrating because there's a lot of good running backs still on the board. I don't have my fourth wide receiver, and Anthony Miller is still sitting there. Would it be stupid to go grab my fifth running back? I mean, I could go get a starter right now.
I don't think it's stupid. I think, you know, I'm a proponent of building running back depth just because they're more volatile, right? You can see some of these guys go down pretty easily with injury. Just based on the position that they play and the contact that they absorb. So I don't hate it. It depends on who you pick, though.
I'm making you both panic because you guys both want Jordan Howard to fall to you. But that's not who I'm picking. I'm
not
picking
a PPR, I don't. Sony Michel. PPR. That's bold, my friend.
Well, he might get 15 rushing touchdowns, so...
No.
All right.
So, you guys remember when LeGarrette Blount was this awful pick in the Patriots offense and then they turned into a power running game? What do you think is going to happen when Brady's gone, guys?
You have to have a capable quarterback, one who can move the offense. Now, that's a little bit harsh for Jarrett Stidham. I haven't seen enough from Jarrett Stidham.
He could be good.
He could be, but you're talking about an offense that you need it to be high-powered in order to reach LeGarrette Blount's rushing upside.
That's fair. Sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
By the way, Team 2 has now taken 6 wide receivers in a row after starting Barkley, Jackson, Gurley.
All right.
I've never seen that before.
I have a strategy here. I'm going to talk about it when it comes back to me, but I'm going to go ahead and take Cam Akers here. I am not high on Akers. I want to be clear about this. However, in the 9th round, you're absolutely that's in a spot where it's like a no-lose situation. You're drafting a guy for your bench, and if he turns out to be the starter, like there's some people that are extremely high, like have Cam Akers as a top 20 running back. I'm not one of those guys because I think Darrell Henderson is someone that eats into his production, but in the 9th round, I have a guy that at the very worst, he's going to be part of a 50-50 timeshare. That's at the very worst. In the 9th round, I'll take him there.
All right. I'm up here. Anthony Miller is staring me in the face. I already do have Allen Robinson, so that's giving me a little bit of pause. So I'm not sure, but I do have Anthony Miller rated as my wide receiver 33 in a full PPR. I think he's going to absorb a ton of targets this season. And, I mean, you look at their wide receiver core, guys, it's Ted Ginn, Darnell Mooney, and Riley Ridley behind them. You know, so it's going to be a two-man show there in Chicago. And I think this offense is going to get back to a decent pace and a decent offense there. So I don't feel great about it. Let me clarify this. I don't feel great about owning both Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller, but the targets have to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. And Anthony Miller is a very talented wide receiver, so he's worth taking the risk here as my bench wide receiver too. Let me make that clear. So here at the 904.
Yeah, and I did the same thing with Deontay Johnson. Again, if the chips fall how they do, it's just like you take the guy who's high on your board. If you have a wide receiver 33, you absolutely
Michael Pittman went off.
He went off. Wow, in the top of the 10th round.
Wow, that guy got 3 rookies in a row: Ruggs, Dobbins, and Pittman. Oh, Higbee is still on the board. You've got to be kidding me.
Man, I really wanted Michael Pittman here.
Oh, that guy drafted James White and Tariq Cohen.
I would have taken Tariq Cohen too. Jordan Howard is staring me in the face. Where do I have him in a full PPR? I have him down at RB35 in a full PPR. He just does not. I mean, he's not a factor in the passing game whatsoever. Matt Breida is here too. Where do I have Breida in a full PPR?
Yeah, Breida would be somebody in PPR. I think I have Breida over Jordan Howard in PPR formats.
I don't know if I'm not there. It's close, but I'm not there. Okay, 40 seconds left. Damian Williams is also interesting because if something does happen,
the starting running back for like the first 5 weeks.
He could be the starting running back for the first few weeks. If something happens to CEH, then I do have like a guaranteed RB1 in the 10th round, which Jordan Howard is not going to be an RB1. Matt Breida is not going to be an RB1. Some of the other guys here, I mean, Tony Pollard is further down the list, where if something did happen to Zeke, he would be a handcuff, but I don't want a handcuff here in the 10th round. I'm going to take Damian Williams just because of that upside. It's a pure upside pick. He's probably going to stay on my bench the majority of the season. But like, Bobby mentioned, if it does play out where Williams is a starter for the first few weeks, then I've got, a solid rotating piece here.
All right. And I'm going to stay true to everything. So basically I said I'd share when I got back on the clock. So Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers were there.
No.
All right. So Rodgers is the guy that is higher on my draft board, like much higher. I don't think people realize just how much regression can come into Drew Brees in terms of his passing touchdowns this year. On top of that, he's 41 years old. So when I was on the clock last time, I looked at the draft board. I pulled it up. In the draft wizard, you could actually pull up the draft board and see who's taken what positions, who doesn't have them. Every single person that was drafting in between me and my next pick had a quarterback, and I knew that no one was going to be taking a backup quarterback this early. So I was like, you know what? Rodgers is going to be there the next time. So I am going to take Aaron Rodgers because he belongs ahead of Drew Brees.
Jerk! I hate you.
Bobby was the only other person in the draft who did not have a quarterback, and I knew that Bobby would also like Aaron Rodgers over Drew Brees.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I did. That's exactly who I wanted. Oh, man. Okay.
No, so, Yates, real quick. So while Bobby is like on tilt right now, where do you have Drew Brees in your rankings? He actually, when I did my projections, he came in a lot lower than I thought he would, and I just want to make sure that I'm not crazy.
I'm looking right now. Oh, wow. I have him at QB 10. I did not think
Drew
he was going to
Brees?
be that high.
I've got him at 17 tags.
I have him at QB 13.
Okay. Yeah, let me be clear. That's way higher than I thought he was going to be. Sometimes when you're doing these projections, you kind of, you go through and you're like, all right, that team looks good. And then you go and look at your rankings, and you're like, oh my.
Yeah, what did I screw up here?
Right, exactly. So I think Drew Brees, that's his ceiling. I'm ranking him at his ceiling. So he's got to come down a little bit for me.
Yeah, and all it really has to do with is he's not going to pass the ball that much.
Yeah, that defense is really friggin' good.
Hill. Yeah. They run the heck out of the ball.
Yeah,
so
and we talked about, really quick, Bobby, I know you're about to make your pick.
You're fine.
We talked about Jared Cook, hitting historic marks with his touchdown rate last season as far as his target share. So he was a monster in the red zone. I don't expect that to continue.
I'll be looking forward to everyone crawling to me begging for my starting running backs. I'll take Jordan Howard here. And then I will take, you ready for this, Yates? You ready for this, baby?
Sure.
Deshaun Jackson. Woo!
Oh, there you go. That's a good pick.
Oh man, I thought you were going to be devastated.
I wasn't. I didn't even see him. I didn't even see him on the list. So I wasn't considering him there yet.
Man,
but that is a good
now.
pick.
Thank you. I thought so too.
All right. So this is one I'm definitely not opposed to people doing. It's been beaten to a pulp, but people talk about, do you draft a handcuff? I'm not drafting a handcuff. I'm drafting a guy that offers flex value. This is very similar to how I feel about Kareem Hunt, a guy that gives you flex value most weeks. And if something should happen to the starter, as we saw last year, he turned into the RB1 in fantasy football. Latavius Murray in the two games that Alvin Kamara missed last year, he was the RB1 by over 7 fantasy points. Like, it wasn't even close between him and the RB2. And one of those matchups was against the Bears. So he had a tough matchup in there too. Latavius Murray is still very, very, very good at football. He's going to have a role even with Kamara healthy. But if something should happen, this is the guy you want on your bench.
It's a great call, man. I love the pick at this stage.
Yeah, I was considering him there. But guys, I found a cheat code. You ready for it?
Double tight end.
Nope. I am taking Alexander Madison here.
Oh, okay.
11th round,
man.
where you currently have Dalvin Cook threatening to hold out. While I'm not necessarily budging on my pre-draft projections right now, we're still far away from the actual season being played, where I need to nail in these projections. So I'm not projecting Dalvin Cook to miss any games at this point. However, Alexander Madison comes with immense upside if Dalvin Cook's holdout goes into the regular season. If I'm drafting now and I can get Madison here at the back or at the start of the 11th round, yeah, guys, that's a cheat code.
Nice pick, man.
That's something that I probably overlooked to the point, because you have to build that in, the risk, because I have him at number 44 in my PPR rankings. But without the situation that we have, would you take him over someone like a Latavius Murray? You might want to do that. So that's probably a good pick right there.
Dang, all these tight ends finally come off the board. Hayden Hurst and Jared Cook went before Higbee. Higbee went at 11-10. I almost took him last round over Deshaun Jackson, even though I've got Kittle, just because I thought, well, someone's going to need a tight end, and I've got a stud.
I actually thought I might go Hayden Hurst over Higbee if I was forced to in a real draft.
I might too.
You guys are absolutely insane.
Dude, we have such a small sample. I'm not saying that Higbee's going to be a bust. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying is that
he could be the number 1 tight end this year.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree on that.
You don't. Okay, so a guy who had 5 straight 100 receiving yard games can't be the number 1 tight end?
He's not passing Kelsey or Kittle.
No.
He legitimately has the upside to break the single season receiving yards record this year.
Dude, it was a 5-game stretch. Before those 5 games, he legit
find me one other tight end in the history of the NFL with a 5-game stretch with as many yards.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, well, he also played the Cardinals twice during that stretch. He played Seattle once. Those are legit 3 of the those are 3 top-notch matchups.
Regardless, can you do it? Has Gronk ever done that?
I'm sure.
Has Kelsey ever done that?
I'm sure. In a 5-game stretch?
I will look it up and I will post it on Twitter, because
that's
I
fine.
guarantee that has not ever
happened. I don't think Higbee had a game in his career.
Stop talking. I have 7 seconds. I'm going Tony Pollard here.
Oh, man.
I'm going Tony Pollard because I do have Zeke. So here at the back of the 12th, I'm throwing darts here, guys, with these later picks with my running backs, Damian Williams, Alexander Madison, and Tony Pollard. If these guys don't work out, that's okay. I can figure it out later on. But if these guys do hit in a big way, I've won my league, right? If something happens to CEH, if Dalvin Cook holds out, if something happens to Zeke, I've got insurance. Right. So, Tony Pollard is a very talented running back. Could potentially even have standalone value in some weeks. So back end of the 12th here is a good spot for him.
This is the way that I like to look at this strategy, okay? Where you get these upside RB1 guys. Like I mentioned this earlier on Twitter, and a lot of people got mad at me. Some people unfollowed me. I said Tony Pollard has a better chance at being the RB1 in fantasy football this year than Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I disagree.
Because Derrick Henry has no chance. Tony Pollard does. If Zeke, you think Derrick Henry has a chance?
I do think he has a chance.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was almost half of what Christian McCaffrey did last year in a PPR league. He needed to increase 75% to pass up Christian McCaffrey, and he had an ungodly touchdown rate. There's no way he almost doubles his production, man. He has 0 chance at being the RB1.
McCaffrey isn't. Well, we should just compare him to the RB2 because that's more in line with what'll actually happen. Because McCaffrey's season was historic. Everybody knows that's not going to. Oh, I'm on the clock. Crap.
8 seconds.
Sorry, man.
All right, I'm taking Zach Moss, even though
sorry.
That was legit a panic pick because there's someone else that I'm already looking at that I'm like, oh no, I should have went this way. But it's fine. It's fine.
Oh, man. I feel bad. But anyway, I'm going to explain what I was talking about. So you've got, based on historical injury rates, you've got a 1 in 26 chance that your starting running back is going to be out for the season, either in the preseason or the first 2 weeks. That's what we've seen over the past 15 years. That's the rate, 1 in 26. So when you give yourself that chance with Williams, Madison, Pollard. You've got the holdout potential with Dalvin Cook. Maybe a suspension potential with one of these three guys. I mean, we've seen this happen with starting running backs before. You're giving yourself a 50% chance at getting an RB1 with your 10th, 11th, and 12th round pick. I mean, what are the odds that, Joe Mixon or Austin Eckler's an RB1? Like 50% chance? Would you trade a 10th, 11th, and 12th round pick for Joe Mixon? I would.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
the issue
it's a
in
great
this,
strategy.
The issue with this is that you're assuming that Tony Pollard, if he does take the
is
main
better
load,
than Zeke.
is better
because
than
Zeke has never finished as
Zeke
the
has
RB1.
never finished as the RB1.
Not
Exactly.
the RB1, a RB1.
Oh,
You
well, Derrick
said
Henry's
the-
going to be a RB1.
Yeah.
That's happening.
I agree with that, yeah.
You said
Well,
the
you
RB1.
said the RB1.
Right, that was a totally different conversation.
What?
What are we
I was
talking
saying
When did
I
that
was saying
happen?
Pollard
Yates,
has
are
a,
you as confused
Pollard
as I
has a
am
better
right now?
chance to be the RB1. And then I switched and said Williams, Madison, and Pollard have a chance to be a RB1. The same. Do you think I'm saying Joe Mixon has a 50% chance of being the RB1? I was saying a RB1, guys. Totally different.
I did not notice when that conversation switched.
I did not
and
either.
Neither did Tags.
Pay attention,
so that's
fellas.
more on you.
I just drafted my 7th running back.
And you took Justin Jackson.
And I took Justin Jackson because I think he's got a chance to have that Melvin Gordon role with Austin Eckler staying in his role. Justin Jackson is a superior runner than Austin Eckler. Let's see. I'm thinking.
I might not agree with you again.
I know you don't. I'm telling you what I believe.
I know you don't.
I'm just going to take my quarterback. I'll take Drew Brees.
I'm so mad right now that I had to pick Zach. There's another. Okay, whatever. I'm going to move on here, and now that my bench has running backs aplenty, I am going to go to the wide receiver position. And again, this is the point in your bench where you look at it and you say, I don't want a guy like Larry Fitzgerald, who is still available, by the way. And experts are telling me to draft him, but in reality, what's the best case for Larry Fitzgerald? That you get the wide receiver 35? Like, that's
Right.
legit best case scenario
Right.
with all the talent in that team. Whereas someone like Paris Campbell could be a true breakout
Exactly.
star. And the thing is like, he's a guy that you can easily cut after the first few weeks if he's not that guy. Larry Fitzgerald, you know exactly what you're getting. He's not going to win you a fantasy championship. It's possible that in the 13th round, taking someone like Paris Campbell, who's going to be the starting slot
Dang
receiver
it, Tags,
for Phillip
come
Rivers,
on.
I'm going with Paris Campbell here.
Yep, great pick, man. That's what I was thinking about taking if I didn't need a quarterback.
Yates, by the way, Yates, I listened back. I almost never listen back to the podcast. I listened back to the one from the 500th episode because it was like legit one of my favorite things ever. And Yates, there was a part in there you did that same exact groan. You sound like Homer Simpson when you do that. Like
thank
if
you.
anybody, someone else out there has to think that. Let me know.
Alrighty then. Well, I am screwed. 13th round here. We've got 3 bench spots left and then my DST. This is the point of the draft where I'm really just comfortable taking, like, again, I've talked about it, dart throws. These are my bench players. If I need to move on from them late, in week 1 or week 2, then I don't have much investment in them. I really do not like this, but I think I'm going to have to do it. N'Keal Harry is still here on the board in the 13th round.
Interesting, yeah.
I am not necessarily a huge fan of him this year. However, if something, if this offense plays differently than how we're projecting, and Julian Edelman is not, he's lost a step. Jarrett Stidham has some sort of rapport with N'Keal Harry, then, then I've got a good player here. If not, then I can move on from him easily. So N'Keal Harry in the 13th round, but I am not thrilled with it.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way. But again, we're in the 14th round, 13th, 14th round. It's not a bad to take a shot there on him. Because if Jarrett Stidham, like Bobby, we talked about this, right? In the fact that can Stidham come in and do exactly what Tom Brady did last year?
As a 42-year-old, yeah.
I hope so, because Brady, in terms of efficiency numbers, was bad. Now, N'Keal Harry is not someone I liked in the pre-draft process. I've been very adamant about that. I didn't like him then. Obviously, his rookie season he didn't pan out. But I worry about the volume in this offense. They're definitely not going to be throwing the ball as much as they did with Brady. So even if there is a little bit more efficiency with Stidham, there's not going to be a whole lot of volume. I think there's a team that's going to try and run the ball a ton. But the thing is, again, you need guys like this on your team because if something does happen, like N'Keal Harry has reportedly been working on his route running throughout the entire quarantine, offseason, whatever. I don't know if that's something that you acquire, but he's working on it, and if he pans out, you're going to find out over the first week or two. And if not, you just drop him for one of the hot waiver wire pickups in week 1 or 2, which, by the way, are the most important weeks.
All right, back into the 14th round. Someone who I was actually hoping would fall was Antonio Gibson, and he went at the 1307, 3 picks after my N'Keal Harry pick. So he did not fall. He was someone who I think is worth a look here in the later rounds.
It's a nice pick. Yeah.
Darrington Evans is going to be my pick here. He is...
Dang it. I love your bench, Yates. I want to steal it all for myself.
I want to steal it.
Back into the 14th round, I think it's a safe pick here. He's going to have standalone value in some weeks, especially if he assumes more of a passing role than we think. Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, coming out saying that Derrick Henry's workload is going to depend on the games. So they drafted Darrington Evans 3rd round, I think, off the top of my head. So, they have a plan for him. He's a good player. He's a home run threat. He could be more of a factor in this Titans rushing attack than we actually think. So he's someone here that I'm willing to draft at the back end of the 14th round.
All right, so I don't know if I'm going to tick off Bobby with this pick or not.
No, you're not. There's no chance you're taking my guy.
No, there's legitimately a parallel comparison for Corey Davis and DeVante Parker.
Right. I knew that's
in terms of like last year. And by the way, I've already gone back and looked at this. DeVante Parker's ADP last year in August, September, when we finalized ADP, was wide receiver. I think it was 76 or 77.
Yeah.
Nobody was drafting him, and I said, I understand.
We both had him in our 40s, man.
Yeah, I was like, I understand he's burned you guys, but there's an avenue here for him to get 100+ targets, and you don't find that in that, and that's without injury. So Corey Davis is a guy that was obviously drafted as a high-round talent, dealing with A.J. Brown, but A.J. Brown is going to regress some. These are the clear number 1 and number 2 options for Ryan Tannehill, who Bobby clearly believes in. But Corey Davis is going to be a free agent next year. Corey Davis also there. So the reason I believe that Corey Davis didn't flourish as much as A.J. Brown did with Ryan Tannehill was because Corey Davis worked with Marcus Mariota solely, right? And meanwhile, A.J. Brown was working with the second team at the start of the season and in the offseason, and that was Ryan Tannehill was working with the second team offense. Those guys had a bond, an established relationship that they worked on. I think that benefited A.J. Brown down the stretch. Now, Corey Davis, I don't anticipate him passing A.J. Brown. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying the beginning of last year, Mike Vrabel said Corey Davis is our most talented wide receiver, hands down. It's not even a competition because people started asking about A.J. Brown. So does that change overnight? Does Mike Vrabel believe that? I don't think so. I think that Corey Davis is being undervalued. Again, I don't think that he's going to be A.J. Brown, in terms of production. But as a potential wide receiver 3, I think the potential is there. So for my bench, I'll take him.
You guys want to hear something interesting? Everyone's so excited about Deontay Johnson. Did you know James Washington had more snaps in week 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17? He was the wide receiver 2 behind Juju.
Do you know who the quarterback was for most of that time?
Yeah, it was awful.
It does
That's
matter.
Why James Washington did nothing.
It does matter because it was. It was.
Well, no. He was dealing
quarterback.
with a concussion, man.
It was he. From getting hit in the head with a helmet.
No, he actually did have a concussion right after that. Somebody did a cheap shot on him, and he got crushed.
Yeah, he did.
But James Washington, his production came. Mason Rudolph and him have a clear connection, obviously going back to their college days. But Ben Roethlisberger and James Washington don't have that. And by the way, so think about the reason here. Let's squash this, Bobby. I know you need to think about your pick, but let's squash this right now.
I know who I'm picking.
And the reason that I've seen some people touting James Washington, and I'm going to say the reason that I think he's done. I think he's done because Deontay Johnson is clearly a guy they love. Ben Roethlisberger's even talked about him, saying they've been working. He's been calling him every day. Deontay Johnson's a superior player to James Washington. He is. Juju Smith-Schuster's not going anywhere, okay? So when you have 3 wide receiver sets, who's coming on the field? James Washington or their new second-round pick, Chase Claypool? If they're happy with James Washington, if they believe that he's the guy that they drafted, in the second or third round a couple years ago, why would they draft Chase Claypool in the second round, a guy that I'm not even high on? So I do think that James Washington beats out Chase Claypool for that number 3 job, but the Steelers are not convinced that he's starter worthy.
No, and they needed a big body wide receiver on the outside, so that way they could move Juju back inside.
Yep.
I'm taking Baker Mayfield here, somebody that I think has some serious fantasy potential. I don't know if it happens. I'm not planning on playing him right away because I've got Drew Brees, but if he breaks out, I would like him on my roster.
Yeah, I'm fine with that approach in the back of your draft. You waited quite a bit to take your quarterback, and you took Drew Brees, who comes with his own question marks. And so the way to solve that is to potentially, I mean, the other guys that you're looking at this point, like, are you taking Tyrell Williams? No. So it's like, might as well take a high upside quarterback and throw multiple darts at the position. That way you don't have to play this game where you're on week 1, you're battling everyone else for the new breakout quarterback.
Right.
All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take, so I know that I'm taking this pick at 1503, and then I have a long, long time, and then there's only 3 picks in the draft when I make my final one, so I'm not going to wait here. I'm going to go ahead and take the Patriots defense here in the 15th round, because I know the guy that I want in the 16th round, the final round, will be there for me to pick. So I didn't need to reach. I'm going to take the Patriots there.
I'm trying to figure out who that is right now. Jakeem Grant?
Well, you don't have a pick before then, so...
Yeah, why don't you just tell me, man?
I'm not... Well, Yates is on the clock. He has 2 picks in between that.
Yeah.
So...
All right, so I really was not considering that approach at all until Tags mentioned it, and the guy that I'm eyeing, I think I can get with my last pick. And again, I come on the clock before you guys, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to take the Bears defense here, and this is not a homer pick. This is simply stating that the Bears defense, they weren't fantastic last year. We all know that. However, we saw Akeem Hicks go down. Khalil Mack was dealing with injury, and Leonard Floyd was not bringing any pressure off the other edge. Guys, this defense this year is going to jump back to a top 5 defense. Khalil Mack fully healthy, Akeem Hicks back fully healthy. Now you add in Robert Quinn, who was fantastic last year and is a perfect complement to Khalil Mack. Now you have Eddie Jackson, Tashawn Gibson on the back end, Kyle Fuller, Jalen Johnson. I think this is just this defense is going to take another step forward. And the people who are projecting the Bears to finish as like a 3-13 team have no idea what they're talking about. This defense is not going to allow them to only win 3 games.
I'm with you on the Bears. I think that they're going to be undervalued a little bit. One of my favorite defenses is the Broncos. I think they're a team that you can get. That's like the defense that I'm probably going to wind up with in a lot of my drafts this year. Vic Fangio's second year, they had a lot of injuries last year in Denver, and now you add Jarrell Casey on the defensive line. You put AJ Boye in the secondary. You get Bradley Chubb back on the defensive line. So I think that defense is going to be really good.
I'm still going to get my number 1 defense with the very last pick of the draft, by the way. Number 1 defense.
And Yates, who's your final pick here?
Yeah, I'm looking the guy who I was like, I think he'll fall back to me. Went at the next pick after Chicago. I took the Bears, which was T. Higgins. If we're saying that AJ Green's going to try to come back and he potentially something happens as he's coming off a full year of not playing in the preseason, if we have that in training camp, T. Higgins is purely just a placeholder, but has immense upside if something did happen to AJ Green in the preseason process. But he went off the board immediately after, so I'm kind of scrambling here. These guys are
Dude,
not...
take Raekwell Armstead in case the Jags trade Fournette. Someone gets hurt, they trade Fournette, you've got a starting running back. 3-down running back.
No, I don't... No, I don't
Chris
want
Thompson's
to do that.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, Chris Thompson's like 30 years old, man.
But he played. Jay Gruden's the coordinator there, man. Like he's working.
Okay, I've got 8 seconds left on the clock, so I'm taking Randall Cobb here, guys. I will probably cut Randall Cobb week 1. Let's be real. But if this, Tags took Brandon Cooks, and we talked about it on a previous podcast where I was like, this is a very difficult wide receiver core to try to break down the targets, right, where they're going to go. They clearly have a plan for Randall Cobb. They brought him in, paid him quite a bit of money. So I think they have a plan for him. So if he can be especially in a full PPR league, like, guys, he actually put up some decent stats last year and could be a factor for me. And so here in the back end of the 16th round, but this is mostly just me trying to justify and talk myself into the fact that I took Randall Cobb.
By the way, Yates, you said T. Higgins. Mine was John Ross, who went off the board right after T. Higgins. So both of the guys that we thought were going to fall to us didn't. I think John Ross is being overlooked for whatever reason. I don't think T. Higgins and AJ Green make sense as the perimeter receivers for them. Like I think that John Ross complements AJ Green better in that offense. So I think he's a guy to take a stab on late in drafts. John Ross, people forget, beginning of last year, back-to-back games over 110 yards. John Ross he's a good football player. He struggled to stay healthy, and that's an ongoing concern. But in the 15th, 16th round, that's fine. So I've had to pivot to someone else. Another guy that, again, I'm going to find out what I have immediately because I do think that there's a chance that this guy steals the number 2 job in the Green Bay Packers offense, and that is Devin Funchess. And if Funchess if he's not on the field and if he doesn't steal that role from Alan Lazard, then I cut him right away for one of my waiver wire pickups.
So, guys, when you draft a defense, how soon are you going to cut them?
Well, usually if I'm streaming defenses usually after.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You're streaming defenses, right? So wouldn't you want the defense with the best matchup in week 1?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm getting the defense with the best matchup in week 1. Philadelphia Eagles take on Washington and Dwayne Haskins. In week 2, they take on Jared Goff and the Rams. In week 3, they take on Cincinnati and Joe Burrow, the rookie. There's going to be a lot of turnovers those 3 weeks.
That's a good pick.
It's good for
I'm
the first 2 weeks.
Philadelphia
Yeah.
Eagles.
It's a solid pick, man.
All right, let's get our draft grades, baby. Oh, man.
Bobby, let's see what we got, baby.
I'll go last. What do you have, Yates?
I have a 90 out of 100, A-.
Bobby, what do you have?
Bobby?
A 95, baby. Woo!
A 95?
Yeah.
You're a turd.
I wanted a 100, man.
So, yeah.
I had Christian McCaffrey. If I didn't get a 100, that means I basically got a A-.
Yeah, I got an A-. I got 92 out of 100.
Wow, you guys are the worst drafters ever. Are you guys ever going to challenge me?
I don't know. By the way,
back-to-back drafts we did where we got 1, 2, and 3, by the way.
Yeah. So we all drafted well. It's just Bobby had Christian McCaffrey, so that obviously put him over the top.
Yeah, if I didn't have McCaffrey, if I would have had Saquon instead of McCaffrey, I think it would have been very close between Tags and I at number 1.
I think you would have been
2.
third if you didn't have McCaffrey.
You think so? You think it's that big of a swing?
I would assume. I mean, I really would because, in terms of what he brings, the projections, I was going over this with some of our devs and, in terms of projections and stuff, and I'm like, we have to cut that back. And they're like, we can't cut it back more than this. We've already cut it back so much. I'm like, I know, but it's just you don't understand how ridiculous his season was last year. And it's trying to get people to understand that. So I still think the projections are ultra high for McCaffrey. And can he live up to them? Sure. But there's a lot of variables in that offense this year.
Yeah, so let's read off our teams here. I'll go last since I've got the championship team again. Yates, you finished 3rd place. What do you have?
I hate this. Okay, so Carson Wentz as my starting quarterback. I have Zeke and Jonathan Taylor as my running backs. Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Tyler Boyd as my starting wide receivers. Mark Andrews as my starting tight end. And then DeAndre Swift and the Chicago Bears defense rounds out my starting lineup. And then from my bench, I have Anthony Miller, Damian Williams, Alexander Madison, Tony Pollard, N'Keal Harry, Randall Cobb, and Darrington Evans.
It's a solid lineup, man.
Right. It is. I love your team, especially your bench, dude.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go. I have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. I have Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, David Montgomery as my starting running backs. Those 3. Cam Akers on the bench, Latavius Murray on the bench, Zach Moss on the bench. And then I have a wide receiver. I have Juju Smith-Schuster, Calvin Ridley, Brandon Cooks, Deontay Johnson, Paris Campbell, Corey Davis, and Devin Funchess. Tight end, I have Travis Kelce. And my defense is the Patriots.
All right, and here's the championship team. We've, of course, got Christian McCaffrey. He's on all my teams. I don't know why that happens, but I end up with a lot of
because you always get the
Christian
101.
I'm messing
You do, yeah.
I had all the Christian McCaffrey last year, too, though, baby. Leonard Fournette, Raheem Mostert, Kareem Hunt, Sony Michel, Jordan Howard, Justin Jackson. And that's pretty much my whole team since I drafted only running backs. I got George Kittle at tight end. My wide receivers, this is a little bit ugly.
Yeah.
Robert Woods, A.J. Brown, Mike Williams, Deshaun Jackson, James Washington, quarterbacks Drew Brees and Baker Mayfield, and the number 1 defense, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, Bobby has the worst starting quarterback. He has the worst receiver core by far.
Yeah, that wide receiver core is...
Hold on just a second. It says that I have better quarterbacks than you guys. You guys drafted Carson Wentz and Aaron Rodgers? That's interesting.
I mean, I think you would agree with us that we're
I agree. I agree, definitely.
Bobby had hold on a second. Bobby, that's why Bobby won this. So I just want to be clear. So Bobby, despite so he talked. What didn't he say he had Brees as his quarterback 17?
17, yeah.
Come
But he
on,
took-
man. You
he
can't
took
call me out
Brees.
on this.
Oh,
He
I'm
took
calling you
Brees
out
so
because I
late.
drafted true to my board.
Honestly?
I took Juju when the board said that he was the 4th wide receiver on the board according to consensus. But I went true to my board and I almost beat Bobby.
Here is the absolute truth. I would take Tyrod Taylor over Drew Brees in fantasy football this year. And he is undrafted. I took Drew Brees in the 13th
Can we
round.
find out what would have happened in this draft if you took Tyrod Taylor?
I don't believe you can do that in the multi-user draft. However, if I would have taken Tyrod Taylor, I very much helped design the algorithm, and I know the exact algorithm for what goes into Draft Wizard. I'm telling you right now, I would have finished in 7th or 8th place if I would have taken Tyrod over Drew Brees.
Yeah. Yep.
So, anyway, I'm the defending champion. I don't know how many in a row that is.
Anyways,
But
I won, guys. You won.
Anyways,
that is all for today's show. Again, you can check out the multi-draft lobby. I'm sorry, the mock draft lobby by going to the FantasyPros homepage, hovering over NFL, and then you'll see right there, mock draft lobby under draft tools. Compete with your friends. If you've got 11 of them, awesome. Beat them. Talk trash, just like I'm doing. And if not, if you've only got 3 or 4 that you want to mock with and, do a Zoom room while this is all going on, it's a lot of fun. It's going to grade your scores, and we'll fill it with AI teams as well. Check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/fantasypros, especially that 500th episode. That was a lot of fun. You guys are going to love it. And please do hit that subscribe button. Give us a follow on Twitter if you don't already, at BobbyFantasyPro, at Mike Tagliere NFL, and at Kyle Y NFL. Guys, this was a fun show. Congratulations on 2nd and 3rd.
you're the worst.
I love you guys. All right, for Kyle Yates and Mike Tagliere, I'm Bobby Sylvester. Thanks for listening and watching, and enjoy your football.
Thanks for tuning into the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Make sure to check out our featured videos as well. Also, make sure to click that red subscribe button to get notified when we post videos in the future.